So to start with, what you just heard are sound snippets out of Europe's natural wilderness, beech forests in Sauerland. And it's captured by one of our startups that is actually helping in monitoring and tracking biodiversity. It's called Hula Earth. And they are using high-tech solution with IoT devices as well as satellite data to really track biodiversity. So, before we dig deep into the topic, I briefly introduce myself. My name is Nikola Baumschlager, and I'm a startup consultant here at UnternehmerTUM, and I mainly coach startups in the food and agri-tech space. And we at UnternehmerTUM really want to create this neutral platform for every stakeholders in the food system to talk and also to create a better food future. And this is why we're here and also having this talk. And I'm very happy to have this talk with you, Roman.
Thank you very much. As a warm welcome from my side. My name is Werner, and I'm the Managing Director of the TUM Venture Lab Food Agrobiotech. And if you have a look at our logo, you see this is an initiative driven by very, very important organizations here in Munich. On one hand, UnternehmerTUM. This is why I'm really happy to host you to this today, Nikola. And secondly, it's the Technical University of Munich. So we are combining the entrepreneurial world with the scientific world, with science. And that's especially important because we want to bring a lot more research into application, and we want to connect a lot more startups to the science aspect. Yeah, today, this topic about soil health is something that we focus really a lot at the moment, especially with our startups. And it's also something for me, and also doing this today, it's not just a job. It's something about passion, about really pushing things forward, because soil health is something that is really crucial. We are living on a very thin layer, and I'm pretty much sure our experts will also dig deep here as well. We are living on a very thin layer, which is, how to say, increasingly important for our daily life. We are talking about water and air pollution since decades, but soil pollution, what is happening directly under us, is somehow in many cases neglected. And with you, we would like to change this today. So what do we plan today in the next roughly 45 minutes? So we are here not to just have a talk or a discussion round between experts. We also want you here in the audience to participate, to discuss with us, to ask questions, to bring statements, and really to go out here with a feeling that we as a community, as humanity, can do something in order to protect our soils. First of all, we will have a round of 4 experts from different areas, so thank you very much for joining us here and being part of this deep dive, who will give a statement and some explanations for them from their respective fields. And then later on, roughly in something like 20 minutes, we will change to you, and you can already make some notes, thoughts, and so on, what you would like to ask us. And then later on, when we have ended with the discussion, we will have some very important people here also showing up on the stage, and these will be our startups. So we have here also 5 to 6 startups. Wave your hand. Yeah, you see, these are our young entrepreneurs here in the room that will also present their idea here and how they address or tackle the specific topic of soil health. But Nikola will now introduce our experts, and then we start in the discussion. Thank you.
Exactly. So thank you, Roman. As you've now heard, soil is more than just dirt we walk on. It's really the foundation of biodiversity, or if you want, the foundation of our life. So I'm really great that we have 4 different perspectives, starting with you, Martin, from the research perspective. So Professor Dr. Martin Wiesmeier is a leading soil scientist, serving as the scientific director of the Institute of Agroecology and Organic Farming at the Bavarian State Research Center for Agriculture. And he's also a professor of soil science at the Technical University of Munich. Martin emphasizes that on-farm research and long-term soil monitoring are the key to maintain healthy soils. So thank you for being here, Martin. Pleasure. Then, from the practical perspective and from the practical application, we're excited to have Anne-Sophie Christmann with us. She's general manager of the non-profit Regenerate Forum, which is working to transform the Lake Constance region into a regenerative climate landscape by connecting all the stakeholders there, including farmers, entrepreneurs, and politicians. Anne-Sophie leads projects like training programs on regenerative agriculture and a regional platform for ecosystem service financing, helping to turn theory into action on the ground. She emphasizes that improving soil health begins with collaborating and sharing knowledge on a regional basis among all stakeholders. Thank you for being here. Then, from the policy perspective, which is also very important, and I think it drives really this change, we're honored to have Simon Krämer here, and he's the co-founder and policy steward of the European Alliance for Regenerative Agriculture. Simon also brings valuable experience from his time at NABU, where he also contributed to the BCG report. And Simon highlights that the most promising trend in soil management is the farmer-led movement embracing regenerative agriculture. And last, but certainly not least, we have Benjamin Subei with us. He's partner and associate director at BCG and was closely involved with the whole development of the BCG report on soil health. He will be sharing insights from the report and also diving deeper into it. And as he emphasizes, healthy soil, as the foundation also of our life, has a significant economic driver, and we need to put more focus on it and unlock this potential. So thank you all for being here. And I would like to start with you, Martin, because in discussions like these, it's really important to, first of all, talk about definitions. I think this is very important in science in general. But science is also our strongest ally in understanding the whole concept. And maybe you could talk a bit more about what is soil health actually, and as you mentioned in your statement, why is the importance of soil monitoring for long-term investigations there?
Okay, yeah, there are many definitions for soil health. I think to make it easy, so soils provide very important soil functions, ecosystem services, and healthy soils are able to fulfill these functions. So they are not limited in this regard. And with my statement, I think there are two things which are important. So in terms of on-farm research, we know a lot about our soils. We have a committed soil science community in Germany, for example. So in principle, we know how to manage soils in a sustainable way. However, the problem is that in the last decades, the research very much focused on individual measures to improve the soils. For example, fertilization or different tillage systems. But in reality, farmers change the whole system, so they often develop unique approaches for their specific conditions, site conditions, economic conditions, and we have to account for that. And we have to, therefore, we really need on-farm research to fully cover the full potential of these unique approaches. This is important. And the second thing is time. Time is important. So soils are tardy, stagnant systems. It takes often 10, 15, 20 years until we see the effects of any management change in the soil, in soil properties. So we need long-term approaches, we need long-term monitoring programs to really detect these changes over time. And we have that partly, for example, in Germany, we have a system of soil monitoring sites. So in Bavaria, we are observing our soils since the 1980s. And recently, we analyzed this data and we found an increase. This was really surprising, an increase in earthworm communities, for example. But it took us 30 years to detect this change. So, and we have to be patient. This is the message.
The question is if we have that time, but yes. Thank you for sharing very much. Coming from the research, and I think you've already talked about it, to really bridge this research into practice, I want to ask you, Anne-Sophie, how is it really in practical, how is it with your training programs? How are farmers open for it? How is really this translation from science to practice?
Yeah, thank you so much. I think, so our overall goal, maybe quickly, from Regenerate Forum is to transform a region, the Bodensee area here in southern Germany, to a regenerative climate landscape. And what do we mean by that? That's a land system where we regenerate the soil, we regenerate the biodiversity, and we close the natural water cycle again to really combat the overall climate crisis. And the prerequisite for all of that is a highly diversified vegetation and in forestry and agriculture. So we need to bridge all of the different land management systems. And what we've been seeing is that actually regenerative methods can really work for that. But the problem here, so the challenge, is not only at the Bodensee, but overall in Germany, the educational programs are really kind of behind. It's changing now, but the farmers that are practitioners right now, they mostly lack the education on soil health, and that's a big problem. So what we did is we partnered with Bioland Stiftung and brought the Bodenpraktika, that's a one-year course into the region that we really can offer the farmers and to learn about soil health and give them basically advice on what they can do. And this is helping a lot, although we need a system change in education as well. And it's really great to see. I have the honor to moderate this group of farmers every year, and it's amazing to see to see how they go their path. But another problem we identified was then that they were really inspired in turning to different systems, regenerating the soil, but they kind of lacked space afterwards when they learned a lot. They needed actually their peers to really discuss and what they can implement on their own individual farms. So what we then conceptualized was kind of soil working groups where the farmers regularly meet and can discuss and help each other, advise each other to really bring the knowledge to the whole area and not to only a few pioneers. So.
One question I would have about that is soil education not part of a farmer's education?
Well, you can answer that better if you have farmers in your classes. But to my understanding, I studied viticulture and enology, and I had one module on soil, and that's it. Basically, in 3 years of bachelor program, I think that says it all. What do you think?
Recently, a look on the contents of related to soil of agricultural schools in Bavaria, and it's different, but it's rather poor, I would say. So there's definitely a demand for better education.
Right.
So at the end, it means we need more work for you as a designated professor or as a professor for soil science in Weinstefan.
Yeah, but we have to start in schools. It's too late. So at the universities, we have detailed soil education, but we have to start it earlier and not only for farmers.
So could it be also something maybe to add on here, something also for general schools? Because I've learned a lot about air and water pollution in school, but nothing about soil pollution. Yeah. So we should directly start here as maybe a takeaway for everybody here. Mm-hmm. So education can take place everywhere concerning this topic.
And you can all become advocates.
Yeah. Yeah, well, so we've heard a lot now about the science aspects and also the educational aspect, how to work also with farmers. Maybe come a little bit more to the policy part and how we also unite farmers under this topic. Now we come to you, Simon. So you are heading an alliance for regenerative agriculture, and that's important. It's Europe-wide and it's farmer-led. I think that's also the important emphasis of your statement. So what experience do farmers already have with our, topic of soil health in Europe in general? Because we already know, and we've heard this a lot maybe today and also tomorrow, that around 70% or more of our European soils are already in a devastated mode. So what do you do here, and how can we unite the farmers and help them?
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you also for inviting us and giving us this space. I think our farmer members are made up, or we consider them, pioneers in two kinds of ways. One is really they are agronomic soil health regeneration pioneers. So they transgress this whole argument that we have been facing in the last years or decades of somehow needing to reduce productivity in an overall assessment for increasing ecosystem services and soil health regeneration. On the other hand, they are also pioneers in the educational mode. So they are all already heavily engaged in distributing peer-to-peer knowledge in the regional networks or engaging with local governments. Maybe one example I could give to also touch on this discussion that already unfolded is that our Spanish sister organization now in the last week started really with the agricultural ministry in Spain to go into the vocational schools of agriculture, teaching really from the bottom up by the pioneering farmers, the educators of the farmers, as well as the kind of educators of the bureaucrats on how soil health regeneration works in the farms. And maybe the last point is that our pioneers not only come from a super diverse set of agroecosystems in Europe, but also from all farm production types and all the different traditions we have positively and hopefully unfolding. So in the livestock rearing way, holistic management, in agroforestry, syntropic agriculture, in arable farming, no-till, diverse cover crops, other methods. So really the full set, market gardening, Nordic market gardening, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you very much. So, how to say, uniting or building up networks, I would say, is another take-home message that we conclude here. And especially what you are doing Europe-wide, I think this is also very important for us, not just to stop at from Germany, from a German perspective, at the Austrian border and so on, and really to go also in other countries that are a little bit more in the south, because these are different also climate conditions. Yeah, thank you. So maybe switch now to Benjamin from BCG. So we had an impression about the report in the talk before this deep dive, already highlighting what is going on with soil health. Maybe to repeat this also a little bit again here, the numbers, because the numbers are really also clearly showing what is going on here. And also in context of the three statements beforehand, what are your hopes a little bit, hopefully in general hopes, how to change the situation, really how to tackle this challenge problem? And yeah, we are also in an entrepreneurship environment. How much economic value do you see linked to healthy soils? What business model can you build up here?
Yeah, and thanks for the question. I mean, the two topics are very much closely correlated from my point of view, or interrelated. On the one hand, I'm very happy that today here at DLD Nature, we have the chance to put soil health at the center stage. And we learned already a lot from the other three statements that we need to have much more attention. Yeah, that's not only starting in school and in farmer education. Also, when we look into scientific publications, you see typically that any work related to soil health is only a fraction, sort of maybe 10% correlated to what is above soil agronomy, what is across plant breeding. If you also look then at the Chambers of Agriculture reports or guidance to farmers, like the Landwirtschaftskammer here in Germany, it's also about that more than 90% of all their recommendations and their work is geared towards having the right plant cultivars, having the right above ground agronomy, but only very little on soil. So the topic that we have too little attention on soil health is omnipresent from our point of view, and we wanted to make our contribution to change this, because once we declare and be clear about the economic value of healthy soil, then we hope to get much more attention also from the other angles. And so for Germany alone, we have calculated that increase the health of our soil brings economic potential of about 14 billion, so 10 billion linked to the cost of carbon, on the one hand avoidance, when healthy soil require less synthetic fertilizer, so nitrogen fertilizer production is among the most energy intense processes on this planet, so every ton of nitrogen fertilizer we can save immediately contributes to reducing the speed and acceleration of climate change. Plus then the vast amount of carbon that can be sequestered in the soil. Even today, there is more carbon sitting in the global soil than we have in the atmosphere and all the biosphere, so all plants on the Earth combined. So just to give a sense of the order of magnitude we are talking about. And nevertheless, water, which is only a tiny fraction, so comes about 1 billion, but just because we have a ridiculous low pricing for agricultural water usage in Germany, where a cubic meter of water for farmers costs like 0.5 cent on average, while we as municipality or private household users, dependent on the federal state, pay like €1.60 to €3.50 even in Saxony. So that is a vast difference. And when we, let's say, convert our findings to countries where there is higher water scarcity, then the economic value of healthy soil will get even bigger. And that we wanted to flesh out in order to create a little bit more attention and interest for the topic of healthy soil, to ultimately tackle the challenges brought up by my fellow panelists.
I think you did a great job here already, so let's hope that this report and all the findings will also show up in public and really put a big focus on this topic. Not only a little bit, a big focus. This is what we need now. And this third take-home message from our first round in this deep dive is that there is a big challenge space, but there are plenty of different possibilities, technological possibilities as well, how to solve it, how really to tackle this problem. And this is also the good news for all startups and entrepreneurs in this room.
Roman, I would like to add one question, because this is, I think, also a question I ask myself when I hear all this potential and, that soil is really, needs to be center stage in our society. Is there a thing that I can do as an individual not having a farm on soil health to all of you? Or maybe you think about it and you talk about it later, but this would maybe also be an interesting thing for the audience to take away.
I think a very good thing is to actually look at what you have in your fridge and see and talk to your farmer and talk to her or him about soil and find out what they do with the soil, and preferable buy food from farmers that care about soil.
I agree, but I think we also need legal framework to have a better soil protection in Europe. So we really need a European soil protection law, I think, and the EU Commission recently proposed a soil monitoring law. But this is the question if this is enough. In Germany we have a soil protection law, but in many other countries in Europe and other parts of the world don't have that. And I think this is very important. So we need a legal framework to secure our soils.
EU restoration law, maybe?
Maybe, but we need something specific related to soil. Yeah. And we tried that for 20 years ago, but it failed. And now we have this soil monitoring law, but it's related to monitoring, So it's also seems to be a bit weak. Okay. And I think this is not an issue for an individual, but this is would be a really important precondition.
Okay. Anything you want to add?
Can also add on later.
Yeah.
Because otherwise I would say it's now time to go into the audience. And before we start, we have also a special guest here in this round, which is Thomas Lang. He is the chairman of Bioland Bayern, and this is everybody here in Germany, I would say, knows the Bioland certificate symbol. And this is something where ecological-oriented farming is taking place over several years already. And maybe you can start with the audience discussion with a little bit explaining what you are doing here and how potentially this could be also a solution for our soil health topic. And for this case, I have now a big new job to hand over the microphones already. So maybe you can stand up and a little bit introduce yourself, and then feel free to go for your statement.
No introducing myself, sorry, but usually I'm in discussion with German farmers, so I wrote it in English. I hope you can understand it better in this way, and I just want to give a statement because it's important for us that organic farming is really a regenerative farming. But on the other side, we have to make a special process in this context, also in the organic farming context. A few weeks ago, I had a discussion with a conventional farmer, and the conventional farmer said, I'm a conventional regenerative farmer. So And now we are in a discussion. Is this really regenerative? This is my question. This is my question to you. This is my question to the audience. This is really my question. And I want to give a little statement, maybe for the discussion. For decades, organic farming has been a leading example in agricultural practices, emphasizing soil fertility, biodiversity, and harmony with nature. For decades. And already now, too. Organic farming thrives on the health of the soil, and regenerative approach in agriculture stems from organic farming principles. This is important. It stems from organic farming. What does it mean for conventional farming? Conventional agriculture must urgently adopt a more ecological approach. The focus must be on drastically reducing of chemical inputs, enhancing soil fertility, and increasing biodiversity. This is important. And I think this is one reason why I say conventional regenerative farming is not really regenerative, because biodiversity must be a part of it. Without biodiversity on the top of the soil, we have no biodiversity in the holistic system. And I think this is important. At the same time, organic farming must not rest on its laurels, of course not. It must develop further into a more comprehensive organic regenerative agriculture too, the highest level of sustainable land management. This includes a stronger focus on perennial crops, intercropping, undersowing, and cover crops, which significantly improve soil structure and water retention while reducing the need for inputs. And a lot of organic farmers go this way already, especially Sepp Braun here in the audience is a man who really is a special farmer in this context. Another...
Where is Sepp Braun?
Stand up.
Here is Sepp Braun. Yes. Another crucial aspect is the use of organic fertilizers that are treated to strengthen soil structure. This is important also, especially for glomalin and in special for fungi. Hedgerows, also important. Agroforest systems, also important. And we need lighter machinery. This is also important. Not bigger and taller and better. That's not the right way. And we have to learn it also. The organic farming system has to learn also in this context. But we need model regions like Bodensee. We need model regions where industry and producing industry works together with politics and works together especially with organic farmers and with other farmers to learn from each other. This is more important. We need a transformation in the context of educational transfer. Now we are here sitting together. Everybody, a lot of people think in the same way, but we need it outside. We need it in the farms. We need it in politics. And we need it, last but not least, in the hearts. And this is important, and I hope we can go this way together. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Thomas, for this statement. That's really also concluding what we discussed here. And he's also representing a very big crowd of farmers. And that's the next big take-home message for us. There are already a lot of people out there. We need to connect them. We need to educate them. They're ready really to start this.
And I want to come back to my question as an individual person. Now to you. Is buying organic always, if I go to the supermarket and buy organic, do you think I already do the right step into the right direction? Also with your speech.
I can start gladly. I think by the way our system is structured today and the legally legislated certification bodies we have today, buying organic, if you go to a standard supermarket, probably is the best thing you can do. But of course, you can do more than going to one of the big supermarkets. or go towards buying, as you indicated, well, let's say organic plus certifications like Demeter or Regenerative Organic Certified, which you were, I think, referring to. And I think they're coming up more and more. But then I think the closest of course, you can get is the more you know the direct grower relationship and actually know if your farmer is a pioneering organic farmer like Sepp Braun, or is maybe stemming from an organic production system that has not so much engaged in many of the practices that you were learning out.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we have plenty of time left now for you here in the audience. And oh, that's starting good. So I don't know who was the... Yeah, okay, then maybe we start with Philip.
Thank you. Philip Gerbert here of TUM Venture Labs. It's a question to Benjamin and everybody. Thanks a lot for the report. I just wonder whether we're not missing the biggest economic value, that's the viability of agriculture in Germany, right? We're now self-sufficient, but you know, with climate change, with longer weather periods, things are not resilient. You know, you have almost nothing. And I think some of you might have been present when Matthias, Berninger, who was, courageous enough to show up here, right? He had the right demand. We have to solve productivity at the same time. And I think the discussion we have to win is that regenerative agriculture solves carbon capture, soil health, biodiversity, but also productivity, right? I mean, it makes the soil productive and resilient, right? And that must have a much bigger economic value, just being, able to feed your population even in the coming years, right? It's not ceteris paribus. We are facing, an enormous stress on the agricultural and forest systems.
Thanks for the question. Very spot on. And we really shied away from putting a baseline to the value of soil. We just have calculated what is the economic uplift potential. So, and obviously, 95% of all the food we all consume is based on soil. It's either plant-based or it's based on animal products, which in the end are plant-based, as the animals need to be fed by any plants. So that is one important aspect. And the other important aspect, I think, that cannot be overlooked is sort of other ecosystem values of soil. So if you would need to put a lot of filtration technology in place in order to clean up our drinking water and water grid, that would cost billions and billions of euro, and the soil is taking that job today. And then also in cases of severe weather events, where soil is really soaking up a lot of water, prevents flooding, if it's rightfully managed and not managed in the wrong way, that can prevent also billions and billions of insurance and cost and damages. So there is a lot more than just the food system, but the food system obviously is at the center, or soil, the other way around, is at the center for the food system. And also having the yield resilience. So you can probably argue that for a period of time, you can realize the same yield on degraded soil by just putting a lot of fertilizer on it, a lot of other chemistry and so on. But the yield resilience when you face severe weather events and the yield potential in the longer term definitively depends on the health of the soil. Absolutely.
So there was, I think, there behind, was the next one, the first one.
Thank you, Rowan. My name is Karin Manhus. I'm the founder of Krämer, and Krämer is a biotech company based in Vancouver, Canada. We focus on technologies to support the acceleration of regenerative agriculture, both on decreasing synthetic pesticides as well as measuring soil health. So I just want to make two comments here. First of all, to Benjamin's, I really appreciate the focus on economic solutions, because it's one of the things that we're missing in industry and in agriculture is how do you actually start building in economic solutions and focusing on how to make nature-based solutions and soil health more profitable. And we know that regenerative agriculture is more profitable for farmers once they make the transition. So how do we make the transition time shorter so they can get to those higher yields more quickly? I do want to make a second comment to the gentleman from Bioland, because while I'm a big supporter of the organic movement, and it's beautiful to see, you know, I prefer to not have pesticides on my food. I think that the division and the attempt to own regenerative is an unfortunate one. Regenerative really transcends above organic and conventional agriculture. Regenerative farming should be an objective thing. Regenerative actually comes from the concept of soil regeneration. We're either regenerating soil or we're degenerating soil. And we can regenerate soil with using organic methods, and we can also degenerate them using organic methods. We can regenerate using conventional methods as well. And one of the reasons why I think this is so important is we're running out of time. We have a huge existential issue in front of us. We've killed 70% of the world's soil on the world's agricultural lands. And the UN estimates we have 50 to 60 years left before the system collapses. So we need to get all farmers on board, whether they're organic or regenerative or conventional farmers, and focus them on measuring whether we are actually increasing soil, building soil, regenerating soil or not. And stop that divide and focus on actual objective data and tools that every single farmer, no matter where they are, can take to start regenerating soil, including you at home, which I would say, yes, you can look at buying better foods, but you can also look at your own gardens at home, because plants are the answer to our problems. Nature is the answer. Nature pulls carbon out naturally out of the atmosphere, out of the air, and uses it to build itself and pushes the extra carbon back into the soil. So by utilizing and covering your soil and utilizing even on your small plots, you can make a small difference there too. But obviously big ones are required in agriculture, and that requires us to actually focus on measuring it and then creating economic solutions to pay farmers to start actually building soil.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, another hands. So I think this was the next one when I... Yeah, sorry, it's not easy, You will be the next one for sure, I promise. Sorry.
Yeah, well, I try to keep it short. I just wonder, in terms of educational methods, about because when I was at school or at university, we learned a lot of the earthworms as being important in bioturbition and remineralization. You learned about nitrogen fixing bacteria and how important it is to put legumes on the fields. But you learn so little, into my opinion, about mycorrhizal fungi in agriculture, especially arbuscular mycorrhizal fungi of deteriorated soils, where you lost all this mycorrhizal fungi fauna, how to regenerate them with these fungi, because I think mycorrhizal fungi are at least as important as pollinating insects. On top of the culture are these mycorrhizal fungi in mobilizing nutrients that are already there in the field, that are already in the system, and even provide them from the lithosphere beneath. And this is something that is, in my opinion, totally neglected in any educational programs. What would you say about it? Maybe Simon or yeah.
I don't know where he studied, but at least that. We had a lot on that in my studies. So I think it really depends. But this is very specific. So I think in general at the universities we really have a good education in terms of ecological, soil-related aspects. I see deficits in schools, in agricultural schools. So I think this is the major problem. So that farmers are not aware, and then we have this great examples of, for example, Bodenbildung, all these courses, but I think it's too late, and you have to integrate it earlier.
So, no, please. Yeah, sorry, but...
Oh, no problem, Roman, thank you. Nikola, Roman, thank you for bringing this amazing man and lady to talk to us. I've learned so much from everyone. My name is Soji Soyalu, by the way. I'm the CEO of AirSmat. You'll hear more about the company soon. I have 2 comments to make to both Annie and Simon, and I hope I pronounce the name properly. You're doing an amazing job in the space of education. The working group you talked about earlier on resonates with what we are doing at AirSmat in Nigeria. So AirSmat focuses on working with farmers in Africa, operationally based in Nigeria at this point in time with thousands of farmers. So we have this notion of cluster of farmers. We group them together and we provide training, periodic training to help them in all these topics we've talked about. So I found that very fascinating. And I'll make my request soon. And to Simon as well, I had your focus on Europe, you know, this ecosystem, this group of farmers and educating them and the interaction. I kind of think we are solving a global problem. And I'm extending an offer to you both. If you agree, please say yes. I have organized thousands of farmers in Nigeria, and I can bring them to your ecosystem. If they could leverage on some of the things, the knowledge you're sharing, the education you're sharing with these farmers, they can learn as well, because the soil in Africa, if we fix that, it will have a global impact on all of us. What do you think? Thank you.
Thank you.
I think you're doing a great job. We aim to, I don't know, have 100,500 farmers together, and we are not there yet, and you are already, so that's great to hear. And yeah, we found out that it's really essential to start at the regional level because otherwise you can't handle it, and the farmers, they need to discuss when they have the same soil, then they are on the same base, and then they just can discuss and help each other. So that's why we start on the regional level. But of course, we want to grow and get more and more farmers in, and would love to collaborate, because I think there is more to learn from your part of the world, and definitely, yeah.
So the network already works.
Yeah,
perfect. That is what we aim for today. Yeah, it's another statement question. So. Yeah, sorry, that was the first person.
I have a question, especially to Anne-Sophie. We're establishing a regenerative agriculture model farm in Nepal, and we also have the vision to have it on a regional and even Nepalese level. And I wanted to ask you, what were the challenges in starting, and how did you start it, and especially how you got the financing for this project, if you can share.
Yeah, so that's an interesting question, and we are just at the beginning. So we are just starting. I think the farmer education is what we have on the ground already, but now it's time to bring in all the other stakeholders from the region, like entrepreneurs, craftsmen, the policymakers. And what we learned is it's really hard to start in the whole region. Now we actually went down to one district, because there we can actually talk to people, and there we can discuss and bring them together and just find solutions on that base level. So that was a big learning. We started in the whole Bodensee region and on the Swiss side and the German side, and we finally came to the conclusion, no, we have to start very small and then hopefully get bigger. And in terms of financing, actually our approach is that the financing comes out of the region, and we're trying to work on a platform where especially entrepreneurs, but also the regional community gets the problem and puts their money into the farms, or helps the farmers to change to regenerative methods. Yeah.
So one question. So
we're running out of time.
I know, but one is left, because you were one of the very first ones, so you definitely deserve the microphone.
Thank you. My name is Anne Urbauer. I'm a journalist, but I'm born on a farm here in Bavaria, run now by my niece and her husband. and they are working with what they call effective microorganisms. And my question is, how do you improve or regenerate soil? What exactly are you using, or do you recommend for using to regenerate soil?
This is a complex.
You should definitely stay for the startup pitches because there will be solutions.
Does anybody of you have a short answer that helps?
Yeah, I have a short answer. I definitely recommend not to use effective microorganisms. There are many things we can talk about that, but I would be critical, very critical with effective microorganisms. Yeah. You have to change the system and don't just give something to the soil which miraculously heals the soil. So this is the point.
If I may, probably your niece will do more than just put effective microorganisms. I'm sure she's a very enlightened farmer. She's.
But it was just something that I know of, and I wanted to throw it.
Okay, to round that off, unfortunately there is no silver bullet like using one particular strain of microorganism and solve it. It's a complex topic. It's a lot of agricultural practices on cover cropping, no-till farming, and then also particular measures on the soil microbiome, maybe additional ones, but yeah, it's not a silver bullet, for sure.
All right.
Thank you very much. So then we are at the end of the deep dive, of the discussion. Thanks again, and a big applause to the 4 experts here on stage. And of course, also you here in this room, I think we've learned a lot. We have a lot of important take-home messages. And maybe there's a little bit the advertisement.
Everyone
we have
the room.
Something left, don't worry. A little bit advertisement jingle for how to say the stuff that we are doing at UnternehmerTUM and TUM Venture Labs. So if you need to approach, it counts also for BioLand and also for the Regenerative Agriculture Association of Siemens, of course, as well. If you need to have a contact, if you need to learn more about it, how to solve this problem, to find technologies, please approach us. We are, for you, the neutral, how to say, not the neutral center in the middle. Approach us, and we would like to help you. So, but before please don't leave the room, because now we come to really technological innovations, and we will have now some startups pitching here. First of all, thank you again. So you can also go to the audience. And we will switch now to the entrepreneurial part of this deep dive. And Nikola, I hand over to you.
I just want to say, don't worry, you're not missing anything on the main stage because they need to rebuild the whole stage. And we have 5 startups, really a quick elevator pitch where we are getting to know innovation and how to also solve, I would say, humanity's biggest crisis, or part of it. And it would be amazing if you're staying here with us. All right. So if you want to hear more about startups, next week is our Agri-Food Demo Day. So just as an information. And then it's Carl. You've already eagerly shown your solution. So you've got the microphone here and the pointer here. So.
Thank you. This picture is such a catfish. I have to really change it. It's been a long time ago when I had this hair, unfortunately. Not sure your card is better. Yeah. Yes, thank you. So, where's the clicky? Where shall I?
Should
just
work.
On the big button. It works.
Yeah, the big one, but it's not changing. Ah, okay.
Too fast, too fast, too fast. You have to. You should go backward.
At least now my technical experience fits my haircut now.
This could work, but this is always when I make the joke. We are from a technical university. We have to have
now
technical challenges. You have to be. It's quite slow, to be honest. Can you speed this up? Because it takes.
Let me check it now. Dum, dum, dum.
We get some help.
Have you figured it out?
I don't know. Still looks slow.
It's slow, yeah.
But now it's better. Do we have to aim somewhere where it's better, or just have to wait? Okay. I will start with this slide. This is already a good slide to start with. So hi, I'm Karl. I'm the co-founder of Alganize, and today I have the pleasure not only to pitch our startup, but a joint venture and project that we started with our friends from ProTech, where we really try to combat soil acidification and the loss of soil biodiversity. And what are we as Alganize doing? We have developed probiotica that we derive from microalgae to really get this biodiversity back into the soil. And we already heard several times today that biodiversity is important, and this counts especially for the soils. Why is this so? Okay, first time I have something to work with. This is amazing. So microbes are the most important factor for nutrient uptake and also the best plant defense that plants actually have. And you can imagine this plant-soil symbiosis like your gut system. If you have a good microbial system, your immune system is stronger and your nutrient uptake works better. If you have been taking antibiotics for 10 years, it's looking a little bit more difficult. And what we are taking advantage of is these plants, they're real, by the way, can't run away, but they still want to communicate with their surrounding. And they do this with signaling substances, and we are copying the signaling substances with microalgae because they have a way more efficient metabolism, and it's easier for us to produce these things than from the plants, so they are stronger and can survive critical situations. And we have several problems in agriculture. We're losing these microorganisms, which are so important to our agriculture system. On the one hand, we have to increase our productivity by 50%. On the other hand, we have already reduced productivity around 21%, especially in the global south where we're struggling. And our food has less and less nutrients, which puts us under a lot of pressure. And especially in acidic soils, because acidic soils make it pretty difficult for microbes to thrive and also for plants to get nutrients. And we were thinking, okay, how we can tackle also this kind of soil conditions in a circular economy approach that is not very harmful, for example, because if you use liming, usually it's not so sustainable to produce this. And there our friends from ProTech come into play. ProTech is an amazing impact startup from Munich. They use the waste streams of eggshells, or like from food producers, they use the eggs and create even bioplastics from this membrane of the egg. On the other hand, you have calcium carbonate in this. And we humans produce every day 9,000 tons of eggshell waste that we can use as liming. So we thought, okay, let's create something together, and we created Plantarbolica, which you can see here. And it took me ages to find a pullover that's the same color as our product here, but I finally found it. And where we combine the eggshells and the liming for the acidic soils with our regenerative signaling substance of our microalgae and this natural exudates that you use. And we prepared for today, for everybody who is here, some samples that you can take with you. It's got a little bit rubbishy there with some drinks and stuff like that, but you have also there the possibility to try it out with your own plants. Just watch out, some plants like acidic soils, like your Monstera or orchids, they prefer this kind of soil conditions. So please watch out, try it out, and also if you want to reach out to us and have a conversation about soil regeneration and microbes, me and Fabian are there. We are like the two bald guys that kind of look like the eggshells that we're using for our product. So please reach out to us. Here's our link, and special thanks, of course, to the Xpreneurs Incubator and TUM Venture Labs who connected us with ProTech, and of course for DLD for giving us the opportunity to pitch our startup here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Karl.
By the way, we should have this for every event. I love this.
Yeah, thank you very much. But the exhibition, we also still have a little bit to explain later. So we come to the next startup. It's Pina Earth with Gesa. So be careful with it. Only press 1 and then wait a little bit, but then it should work. So stage is yours.
Great, and this is on. Perfect. Hi, everyone. I'm Giza, co-founder and CEO of Pina Earth. I'm here to talk to you today about forests. They've already received some platform on different stages, but I want to continue that conversation, focusing on forests not just anywhere in the world, but forests right here at home in Europe and in Germany that at least some of us grew up with. What do those forests look like? Unfortunately, they oftentimes look like this. Monocultures, as far as the eye can see, spruce or fir, mostly in Germany. And that right now is under a lot of pressure from climate change. We heard it already, drought, bark beetles, increased heat is putting a lot of pressure on these forests. Now, the resulting picture is something like this. Let me see if I can play the video. No, okay, we'll just skip it. The resulting picture is something like this. This is actually a region just 1.5 hours from here. So I think this is something that feels a lot closer to home, at least for most of us. And you can see that the climate crisis is not something 30, 20, or even 10 years away, but it's something that's already here. And in the last 4 years alone, we lost 500,000 hectares of forests in Germany. That's equivalent to about 5% of the entire forests that we have. A very staggering amount, and honestly, a number that keeps me awake sometimes at night. But I'm not here only to bear bad news and to be a downer, but I also come bringing a solution. It's a solution that, as with many other topics today, nature already provides for us. It's called forest adaptation. And what it means is turning a monoculture forest into a biodiverse mixed forest. What I especially love about this picture behind me is that you can see that both of these realities are possible at the same place, at the same time, just 1 meter apart. It's not a Photoshop photo, so it's just the decision which reality we want to live in. Now, what's the problem of scaling up forest adaptation throughout Germany and throughout Europe? It's costs. So to go through this transformation process, the forest owner needs an additional income source that doesn't reward him or her just for the production of timber. And that's where we come in with Pina Earth. We help forest owners get access to carbon markets. What do carbon markets do? They're actually one of the only market-based instruments that we have. It's a dramatic underlining of my fact. So carbon markets are actually the only market-based instrument that we have to reward forest owners for anything besides timber, so for the ecosystem services they provide. And while carbon markets have received some criticism in the past, we want to actually change this, give forest owners access to the market, and improve on the way that forest projects are created and rewarded. How do we do this? We have a digital platform where we walk forest owners through the program, getting them onboarded and basically teaching them the ability what a carbon project is and what they need to do. They actually contractually agree for a 30-year timeline of changing this forest. So that's a very strong commitment on their side. Our job as a technology company is to calculate how much carbon can be stored in this forest and what climate risk this forest carries and how can we improve on that through bringing in diverse tree species, for example. Now, finally, on the other side, companies finance these projects, which means that we give them access to invest right in front of their doorstep and transparently track what climate impact they're having. Since we started almost 4 years ago, we are now the market leader in Germany. We have 20 million square meters under contract, where already right now, forests are being restructured all the way from Hamburg to Munich, you could say, across the map, with our partners. We started out in Germany, but we're ready to take on other European countries as well, because the situation, honestly, is very much the same. Country lines, it's, as you know, the nature doesn't really care about that very much. And this is where you come into play. I know that a lot of you are actually in leadership positions at your companies. And I just want to urge you that climate action is not going to be optional for very much longer anymore. And so I want to urge you to actually position your company already proactively as a climate leader. Now, while you may already be on the path to reduction, which is great, this reduction pathway can actually take many years, maybe even decades to complete and may never be completed. So don't forget about the emissions that you still create every single year while operating your business. And for those emissions, you need to invest in climate projects to account for the emissions you create. So why not invest in the high quality credits and then the ones that are right in front of your doorstep? So I want to urge you to make not only your customers, your employees, and your children proud, but to contribute to a future with forests around you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So let's go on now. Now we go a little bit more to the south to Levine. Perfect. Please come on stage from Coastal BioTech. And this is the clicker. Be careful with it.
Okay. Yeah. So hi, everyone. My name's Levine Irvine. I'm one of the co-founders of Coastal BioTech. Let's see if we get this started. So Coastal BioTech can be classified as a marine biotechnology entity, and we really focus on macroalgae as a core component to the food and the feed industry. And we do this currently by working at the base of food production, so the food and the feed industry, through agricultural inputs. So altisols and oxysols are two of the most widely distributed soil types across Africa. And yet these two soil types are highly unsustainable unsustainable soil types for agricultural practices, for the very reason that they actually have very low organic matter, so they don't really have a lot of minerals that are required for crop growth and development, but also because they have very low water holding capacity. So essentially when a manure or synthetic inputs are applied, you have extensive leaching. And so for that reason, we need to go beyond the scope of NPK for plants to, in order to realize the full genetic growth potential of plants and really look at the management of the root to soil interface. And that's specifically why we chose microalgae, so seaweed. We chose it not only because it's a really sustainable aquatic biomass that doesn't compete with land-based crops, but we also chose it because it is an alternative, or we're tapping into, natural nutrient sources that have enormous potential to regenerate soil and also to provide resilience against climatic constraints. So with microalgae, currently we're producing biostimulants, and we're targeting really 4 key areas. And this is improving on yield, so total yield output. We're also improving on protection. We're focusing on the soil extensively, and we're also looking at crop quality features, because this really plugs into the overall gains that farmers have at the end of the day. And how exactly do biostimulants work? So really we're focusing on innate genetic processes within plants and also metabolic processes. So really looking at things, for example, I won't go into deep, but for example, abscisic acid, which actually controls controls how plants respond to drought and salt stress. But we're also really focusing on the soil's physiochemical properties, so really looking at the structure of soil and also looking at the biodiversity of soil, so how essentially microorganisms have food. And how does our technology really translate into something that's really meaningful for farmers? And the best way for me to explain this is by giving a case study of a typical farm. We use Tanzania as an example, use a typical crop as maize, and that's cultivated across 3 hectares, which is just a standard farm size. And we're looking at a farm gate price of about 24 cents per kilo. So essentially, with the application of biostimulants, we're looking at loss prevention of about 15%. We're looking at yield increase of about 20%. And we're also taking a very conservative approach, which is chemical reduction by about 30%. And with that, we're taking farmers from about $469 to about $850 at the end of every harvest. So really, that's really building upon the very low income that farmers currently have at the moment. So what does the biostimulant market look like? Well, at the moment, it's estimated to be about 4 billion with a compound annual growth rate of about 11.69% till about 2032. So it's projected to reach about 9.75 billion by that time. So, and also actually as a very interesting fact, the biostimulant market actually holds about 20% of the bioag market, so there's a lot of potential for innovation in this area. I'll go very quickly, but what makes us really novel and distinct is really about the mechanism in which our product works. So really, we're able to challenge a synthetic market, but we're also able to rival the organic spaces. Our target market really is, they really are smallholder farmers, but because of the region in which we operate, we know that in order to reach them, we would really have to have a top-down approach. So this top-down approach is really about tapping into existing systems and structures that are deeply embedded, and for that reason, our approach is B2B and B2G, and our model is a manufacturing model. Just a bit of information to see how we support that model. We're able to currently produce at about 42 cents per unit, which is a liter. This is a little bit about our traction. I'll just say very quickly, we cultivate at about 32 hectares of land. That's about 40,000 football pitches. And we work very closely with coastal communities in order to do this. And I'm not alone in this mission. I'm really proud to be part of a very dynamic team. Our experiences combined together spanned over 20 years, but I think it's more important to look on this side. I'm really, really proud to be aligned to really a diverse array of experts in this field, including TUM, which have supported us today. And that's pretty much all from me. So I'm very open to questions after everyone has had the opportunity to talk and pitch. So thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you very much. So next startup will be Elaniti with Utka.
But we need to hurry up.
We need to hurry up, so please click on the big one carefully.
Hi, everyone. Before I start, I just wanted to confess that all those people that left right before we presented, that hurt my feelings a bit. So thank you to all of you for staying here and listening to what we're saying. We are Elaniti. We're a London-based startup that's unlocking the secrets of the soil microbiome for healthy harvests. I am Utka Shvaidya. I'm the co-founder and CTO of this company. Now, to evidence my passion for soil science, I'll just say that I moved from California to the UK in the middle of the winter to soil sample myself 2,000 hectares of land. So if that doesn't evidence it, I don't know what will. But outside of that, I'm also passionate about wildlife photography. And if you know amateur photographers, we're never going to pass up a chance to have a captive audience to forcibly admire our work. But one thing that's common to all of these, if you'll notice, is that they're all mammals. These are what are known as charismatic megafauna. And they've inspired me and countless others because of their beauty, because of the elegance of their design, the perfection of how they fit with their environment. But there are only about 6,400 species of mammals in the world. And I wanted to put that into the context of broader biodiversity. And that's what it looks like when you look at broader biodiversity. Now, most of that pie chart is really composed of microbes, bacteria, archaea, fungi, you name it. And for instance, the number of bacterial species alone, they're estimated to be anywhere between 1 billion to 1 trillion. So the short answer is that we don't really know. We haven't really studied a majority of bacterial species. So how does this relate to soil, which is what our company is about? Well, soil is an extremely biodiverse habitat, and it's actually home to 22 to 50% of all bacterial species. And somebody mentioned this statistic earlier, but it's a very bioactive substance as well. It's not an inert substance. It's got about 1 billion individual microbes in every teaspoon. Now, perhaps surprisingly, conventional agriculture has only looked at chemical and physical data when trying to predict yields, and unsurprisingly, they failed to actually understand the variances that farmers often see. You'll often find that chemical properties like the nitrogen, potassium, phosphorus in soil, and the physical properties like the pH, the electrical conductivity might be similar, but farmers end up seeing vastly different outcomes in terms of yield, disease, or NUE. So why is this happening? Well, that's because they're not considering the missing piece, the biological piece, which actually underpins soil. Soil is not an inert substance, it's very much alive. Now, let me make a Munich-specific analogy for why biology is important. Biology to crop outcome predictions is basically what the hurricane transfer was supposed to be for Bayern. But unlike the hurricane transfer, our biology actually works, is what I wanted to say, without the graph. And we're producing results. We're about 43% better at predicting crop outcomes compared to the baseline case, which is only using physical and chemical characteristics of soil. And the way this works in practice is always underpinned by analyzing soil with advancements in DNA sequencing and machine learning. We have built a microbial library of over 120,000 microbial species. These feed into predictive outcome models for farmers that help them understand the impact of various practices without getting into labels of whether it's regenerative, whether it's conventional. All it really does is helps them understand how their soil biology is going to react to the introduction of these practices, these inputs, these fertilizers, and so forth. And longer term, what we also want to do is help the biofertilizer, bio-input manufacturing industry select better candidates that are more efficacious in the natural environment by using our microbial library to try and understand which consortia of native microbes are the most highly linked to positive outcomes in crops. If you want to talk more about it, there's more science and technology behind it. Come find me. I think I'm probably the only person named Utkarsh in this conference, so come find me whenever and we can have a chat. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. So we now switch to the last but not least. No? Last but not least startup. Sorry, Sophie, it's not time for you to come on stage.
I know that you have the best performance now as the last participant. The
Just
best end.
Yeah, thank you. If I told you just before I came to this stage that I spoke with my mom, will you believe that? Yes, I did. Growing up in Nigeria, I followed my mom to see her parents in the farm. She took us every summer break to go spend time with our own parents. And when I got to the village, I followed my late grandpa to the farm, where I saw the difficulty, the pain point that he went through growing crops and growing that sustainably. And this is what brought about the name called AirSmat. This is what the problem I saw in my late grandpa is what we're solving today. My name is Soji Soyalu. I'm the CEO and a co-founder of AirSmat. And at AirSmat, what keeps us awake at night is to maximize crop yield for African farmers while unlocking the power of agriculture to combat climate change. What I saw with my late grandpa was poor crop yield due to gas-based farming and the cascaded impact of that on climate change. And for us at AirSmat, that problem still exists today across sub-Saharan Africa. That problem we're solving with a simple solution. AirSmat, born out of the year of COVID, we built an application platform where we ingest farm data from the farm, and then on the other side, we're able to advise farmers to increase their crop yield, and we work with other solutions that we'll talk about, to regenerate the soil, and in the process, issue them carbon credit, working with vast number of our partners to achieve that. Our vision is simple, that at AirSmat, we're increasing the crop yield of farmers, making them to be more climate resilient, democratizing the production of high-quality biochar from end-of-life waste to regenerate the soil, sequester carbon, and improve the livelihood of farmers. The opportunity is massive, and I'm so glad in one of the speakers that came around talked about the economy of all of these. And that's the opportunity AirSmat is tapping into. How does it work? We onboard farmers. As I speak to you, we have onboarded over 30,000 acres of farmland working with farmers in Nigeria for a carbon project, and then we go through the process of biochar production and issuing them carbon credit. Our goal is to solve two problems: zero hunger, Africa that can feed itself, food security, while at the same time combating climate change. The market is big. We estimate a total addressable market of $87 billion, and AirSmat is targeting $18 billion out of this. We equally see that is growing, estimated to get over $300 billion by 2032. You may ask us, how do we make money? We have B2B model, working with banks, commercial bank in Nigeria. We have these enterprise-grade farmers that we work with, smallholder farmers as well, and that's how we make money. We have paying customer, and we're ready to scale. That's our go-to-market strategy, and of course, our traction. Like I talked about, we have all of these amazing things that we've achieved in the course of our existence over 4 years now. The latest is working with Respond Accelerator, the platform that have brought me to this place, powered by BMW Foundation and UnternehmerTUM as well. And thank you so much for giving me this platform. As you can see here, we're making money already, and we want to do more, and hence the reason I'm here. We're a post-money business. We're ready to scale. We have competition, and this is what we have. AirSmat is Africa-focused. We're solving problems for farmers in sub-Saharan Africa. I have engineering background, and together with me here are my co-founders, passionate to solve the problem I experienced as a child with my late grandpa, but doing it in a new way, leveraging technology and steering towards regenerative agriculture. I've been fortunate to have these amazing men supporting me on my journey, and these are people from day one when I spoke to them, they came on board to help me in achieving this singular objective. We're currently raising capital for a seed round, and that's what you see there, 1.5 million USD, to drive our voucher production, to cover this vast number of farmers we have onboarded, and to do all of this other stuff. With success, because we know we'll be successful, our expected impact is to increase farmers' crop yield by 8x. With success, we will improve the environment with less dependency on chemical and to achieve healthier food for all. And of course, with success, we help farmers to earn carbon credit. If you believe in my story and the urgency of solving this problem for farmers across sub-Saharan Africa, join us in helping African farmers to sequester carbon, improve soil health, and ultimately to solve the problem of food security. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, nothing more to add. Nikola, come on stage.
Yeah.
At the end, there's just from our side to say thank you to all.
For staying with us until the end.
Thank you for staying with us and also for listening to the startups, for discussing. And yeah, please remember, if you need something, please reach out to us. And we still want to a little bit highlight what is also here in the room. We have a little exhibition around here from startups and especially from our colleagues from the SNSB and especially Nantes Buch. Thank you very much for helping us here and supporting us with this exhibition. Thank you all. Enjoy the rest of the afternoon. Enjoy tomorrow the talks. And would be very happy to see you soon again.
Exactly. Thank you very much.